What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the November 18th, 2024 edition of Raw Talk. We had Megan Morant and Sam Roberts in the studio per usual, opening up the episode, recapping the ending to the show, with Bronson Reed beating Seth Rollins with an assist from the rest of the Bloodline. This was taped a week ago, but obviously Bronson Reed joined the Bloodline War Games team. Not the Bloodline necessarily, but the Bloodline War Games team on Friday SmackDown, so that only made sense. They then replay the LWO's Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega beating Chad Gable and Ivy Nile in a mixed tag team match on Monday's Raw. We hear from American Made after the fact backstage. Chad Gable says that this latest loss is unacceptable, and that going forward, he's going back to his roots. And then Brutus Creed laughed uncontrollably. And I'll say this, like when he first started doing it, I didn't mind it. I thought it was kind of funny. And then he kept doing it, the laughing thing, like in general, not even just on this one instance, but like just in general. Then he kept doing it, and it got annoying, which is the point, because they're a heel group. But here, just for whatever reason, when he did the fucking laugh, it just bothered me to no end. I'm like, that is so fucking obnoxious. And like, not in the point where, again, and you'll talk to a lot of people that'll tell you, oh, there's no difference between go away heat and real heat, blah, blah, blah. Any heat is great heat or whatever. That shit is just fucking annoying. It's like the Sasha Banks laugh, the Liv Morgan laugh. They kind of ham it up because they're heels. And I mean, Sasha Banks was doing that as a babyface either. She was doing it as a babyface as well. Heel, babyface, didn't matter. She always has done that laugh, at least for the last number of years. It's fucking annoying. The Brutus Creed laugh is getting up there as well in terms of one of the most obnoxious laughs. I know people had that kind of same thought on the Seth Rollins laugh once upon a time. That never really bothered me the same way that this laugh is now starting to bother me. So again, I guess that's the point. They're a heel group, but it's like I'm kind of focusing on that more than I am what Chad Gable is saying, and that shouldn't be the point. But anyway, so they replay the Imperium Damian Priest backstage segment with Gunther trying to rough up Damian Priest. Damian Priest getting the better of Gunther. Gunther also talking some shit to Ludwig Kaiser, telling him to step up and impress him, blah, blah, blah. Back in the studio, they preview Gunther and Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship at Survivor Series coming up next weekend. They also recap Nia Jax beating Naomi on Friday SmackDown to retain the WWE Women's Championship. And they replay that because it had to do with the opening segment, the Women's War Games match and the setup for that and whatever. So that made sense. They replay the opening segment before previewing the Women's War Games match coming up at Survivor Series. They also hype Bianca Belair versus Nia Jax for next week's Raw. I think it's not a steel cage match, right? I think that's just a regular match. For whatever reason, I thought that was a fucking steel cage match. I don't know where I got that from. Probably because it's a War Games match at the pay-per-view. Either way, it's a War Games advantage match between those two, despite the fact they're both SmackDown superstars, but whatever, I guess. They replayed the Dakota Kai vignette that aired on Raw, kind of hyping her comeback and why she's back, which I thought was really well done. We hear from Pure Fusion Collective backstage with Byron Saxton, which I'm not sure why he's working Raw. When you have Kathy Kelly and Jackie Redmond, I'm not sure why he's working Raw Talk when he already did SmackDown Lowdown. But anyway, Shayna Baszler says that she has put Dakota Kai on the shelf already several times over the course of her career, which is true. Like, not legitimately, but like this most recent injury, quote unquote, that Dakota Kai suffered in storyline. She was actually injured, but it wasn't because of Pure Fusion Collective. In storyline, it was. But I always go back to early 2018 when she broke Dakota Kai's arm in storyline on NXT. I think she may have again put her on the shelf in late 2018, and she was gone for like a year in storyline. They put her on the shelf, or she put her on the shelf in storyline, and then she was legitimately out injured for a year. But either way, I don't think she's wrong when she says that. And she says that they will continue to keep putting Dakota Kai on the shelf. Sonya Deville actually acknowledges that things have not worked out the way that they wanted them to, but she has a plan. She's got a plan. There's always a plan. Like Chad Gable's got a plan. Sonya Deville's got a fucking plan too. She's the woman with a plan. Chad Gable's the man with a plan, like fucking Brian Kendrick. Sonya Deville is the woman with a plan. And then she also ends this segment saying, you know, I got a plan, and you can either, like, shut up and leave us alone, or you can shoot your shot, which I fucking hate. That slogan is so goddamn dumb, but they keep pushing it like it's cool. It sucks. Anyway, they want to be shown respect. That's what she said. That's what she ended with, really. Beyond the shoot your shot crap. They replayed Bron Breakker versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental Championship, which ended with a no contest following interference from Ludwig Kaiser. We hear from Kaiser backstage afterward, easily the best promo on this entire episode of Raw Talk. And you can also watch the interview on their YouTube channel I saw as well. But he says that he should be headlining, he should be in the top spot, he should be getting championship opportunities, but he's not. And the way that he said that made me think of that, God, I don't remember his name, but that quote from the Last Dance documentary on Michael Jordan. There was that guy, obviously he was a guy, I don't know like the fucking quote though. It was like, oh yeah, I should have been on that team, but I wasn't. That's what it sounded like to me when Ludwig said that here on Raw Talk. But anyway, he said that no one understands how it feels to have all the tools necessary to be ambitious and skilled and to have a tag team where you're carrying the dead weight. And I said, oof. Like, we haven't seen Gianni Vinci in many months on SmackDown, so that was quite the shoot there. Whether they're still on good terms or not, I've heard rumors about, like, oh, they did that on purpose because Giovanni shot on, he shot his shot on on Tiffany Stratton, and Kaiser didn't like that. That orchestrated the split. I don't think that's true. I think that was just an unverified rumor. But regardless, I mean, they are split, and Vinci's on SmackDown doing absolutely fucking nothing. At least Kaiser's still a regular on Raw. He just kind of ended saying by that, he belongs at the top. And that Sheamus specifically has gotten so many opportunities of being a world champion, championship opportunities, competing in this match and that match, and he's wasted every single one. He said right now is his time. I thought this was a great promo, an intense, passionate promo from Ludwig Kaiser, and I'm sure there's a lot of truth in what he's saying. He has a lot of supporters backstage, I'm sure. He's very good. He's been showing a lot of potential, a lot of signs of potential in these matches that he's had on Raw in the last little while, which is great. But, he needs to get to that next level and starting to win matches that matter. So hopefully we can see that at some point. Maybe he can become a mid-card champion at some point. He can't just be fed to the bigger stars and consistently lose. He's got to win when it matters most at some point. So hopefully we see that eventually. Anyway, so they replay the War Raiders win over the Judgment Day's Dirty Dominic Mysterio and Carlito in tag team action. We hear from the Judgment Day backstage after. Now, I mean, not really. I mean, they were just kind of sitting there. Dominic was hurting. Carlito was hurting. Balor shows up with JD. And Balor says that there are no leaders in the Judgment Day, but you guys went out there without a plan. We went out there with a plan. We attacked the necks of the War Raiders. That's where they've been injured. They have injured necks from the past. We targeted that. We laid them out. We were successful in that respect, but you guys need a plan. And he says, everyone should be listening to Finn Balor more. I think we can all benefit from listening to Finn Balor more. And he said that to everyone. He said that to Liv, Raquel, Dominic, Carlito, JD was there. So the entire group trying to take notes on how they can become better and avoid this sort of stuff in the future. They replayed the New Day Alpha Academy segment from backstage, setting up their match for next week after Xavier Woods disrespected Otis and Akira Tozawa, setting up a match for next week's Raw. On that note, real quick, they did not advertise next week's Raw as the big 10-year anniversary episode for the New Day. They announced that like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We've heard nothing about it since. And the actual anniversary for the New Day is on, I think, November 28th. It's on Thanksgiving, so obviously they're not having a show on Thanksgiving. They're not SmackDown talent, so they're not going to do the anniversary show there, although they did debut on SmackDown 10 years ago. They're probably going to save it for the post-Raw, for the post-Survivor Series Raw, the December 2nd show, if I'm not mistaken. So keep an eye out for that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's why they're not doing it next week. They're doing that match instead. But maybe they want to save it for after Survivor Series because it's going to headline the show and has nothing to do with the pay-per-view. And they want the entire Raw to kind of revolve around the New Day. So they're going to do it on that post-Survivor Series show. I wouldn't be surprised. They run down the Slam at 7. Who cares, per usual. We hear from Bron Breakker, and this sounded like a promo that you would hear him cut on Raw, like in a backstage setting. It wasn't even really an interview. It was more of a vignette. They did not air this on Raw. It was that type of thing that you would, again, see aired on Raw, but it did not air on Raw. It aired here. Bron Breakker simply said that Kaiser just keeps complaining about this and that, and he starts making fun of Kaiser and doing the whole Imperium thing, which was funny. Seeing more personality from Bron Breakker here, which was great. But he says, listen, regardless of what you want, I'm going to keep coming after you, Ludwig, and I'm going to keep coming after Sheamus. I'm not done with either of you. So that certainly sounds like they're headed towards a triple threat for the Intercontinental title, which sounds great on paper. I am ready for Kaiser and Sheamus to move on from each other. We've been having these matches between the two for a while now. I am ready for them to move the fuck on. But that triple threat, if they are indeed building to that, should be great. They replay the backstage segment with Rollins turning down Sami Zayn and the Usos again before replaying the main event with Bronson Reed beating Seth Rollins and all the chaos that ensued at the end there. And then to close out the show, they had Sam Roberts' top 5, his stars of the night, which were Rhea Ripley, Karrion Kross, Bronson Reed, Liv Morgan, and, as always, Dominic Mysterio. So that was Raw Talk in a nutshell for November 18th, 2024. I don't know where Kathy Kelly and Jackie Redmond are. Maybe they've been on Raw doing the backstage interviews and I just haven't paid attention. But it was Byron Saxton, I think, doing all the interviews on the show here on Raw Talk. So I don't know where they've been. I know this show was taped last week, obviously, so if they weren't there last week, they weren't going to be there, on this show this week as well. So hopefully they're back soon. Not really making much of a difference, but overall a fun edition of Raw Talk. It was an hour as it has been for the last month. I am looking forward to the Netflix debut, if only because this show will go back to being, I would think, 25 minutes and not a fucking hour with all the replays and commercials and bullshit. But usually when they do that sort of stuff, I skip through it anyway. So no harm, no foul. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have a great one, folks. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.